All right, guys. Hey. All right, welcome to Visual Studio Live, Las Vegas. Hey, guys, had a lot of fun last night so far? So good. Who has won money? Who has lost money? Who has not gambled at all? Okay.
Hey, does the fact that I found the $100 I lost the last time I was in Vegas in my shorts on the way here?
Yeah,
count?
but you spent it at the bar.
I did spend it at the bar.
Anyways. Okay, so today we're going to talk to you all, we're going to do a whirlwind tour of the .NET platform. Okay, so I'm the product marketing manager for .NET platform, which actually is a fairly technical marketing role. I started in developer division as a community manager for .NET team, and now I work laterally with them as a marketing manager. So today we're going to, and this is us, today and tomorrow. We're going to kind of go through some of the innovations we've made in the last few years. We're going to show off some of the bits that you could currently be using today with .NET Core, and we're going to show off some future stuff too and what we're doing down the road. Okay, so I'm first going to start off with just kind of saying, like, we have made a lot of investments in the .NET platform over the course of these last few years, and you can literally build anything with .NET now. So between Mono and .NET Core and the .NET Framework, the different implementations of .NET, you literally can learn one language and you can take those skills and you can apply them to any type of workload. So once you learn web, you can learn mobile really easily. So that's really a big value prop of the .NET platform. As well as when we went and created .NET Core and we created this cross-platform open source implementation, we wanted to make sure that you could also use any editor that you want. Okay, so from your editor, the command line, and of course our favorite, Visual Studio for Mac and Visual Studio Code. So really it's like you can build anything for any platform with tools that are on any platform. Whoa, what happened? Whoa, 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 whoa. Whoa, what's going on? Dude, I don't know. It's just that, and thank you. What? Someone's controlling this computer, and it's not my computer.
That's weird.
Okay, that was really weird.
That wasn't me, I promise.
I just started going crazy.
That's really,
Okay, anyways, let's hope it doesn't do that again. Don't touch my mouse. All right, so I wanted to just show off some of like our more recent customers, and kind of these are just kind of quotes like at how they use different implementations of .NET. GoDaddy uses .NET Core. They took one of their voice over IP. They bought a company, VoIP customer. They were running on Linux though, and so they wanted to have a Linux-based .NET environment, so they used .NET Core. Another one is Raygun. Raygun is a startup company, and they moved from Node.js to .NET Core and saw a 2,000% increase in speed because .NET is multi-threaded. All right, so one of the customers recently that I wanted to show you is American Cancer Society. They're using all the way end-to-end. They're using Azure. They're using Xamarin on the mobile apps. They're using .NET Core in their microservices. And this particular customer is actually fairly close to both of our hearts because we both lost family members recently to cancer.
We touch millions of lives every year.
Everyone that volunteers for us has been impacted by cancer.
Okay.
The volunteers did not like our older apps.
We needed to change everything. We had to transition to a DevOps methodology. We moved from Team Foundation Server to Visual Studio Team Services for the ease of collaboration.
We use Visual Studio tools for Xamarin to make our release process easier and more seamless.
It allows us to bring together the user interface aspect, including that of the native platforms, essentially all layers of the mobile site solution together into one single tool set. The open source technology is at the core of everything we do. .NET Core is fully compatible with all of the open source technology we use.
Microsoft Azure allows us to move forward our DevOps strategy. It's a way for us to manage, maintain, and build out
Sorry guys, it's Las Vegas.
Cosmos DB changed our entire way of thinking about databases. It immediately transitioned us from relational schema into totally consumption-based way of using the data and developers defining the rules of how the data is structured.
We know the suite of products that Microsoft delivers will connect seamlessly and integrate quickly.
So awesome it causes a bend in the space.
The results of the app have been simply phenomenal. The first year we did 86% more revenue year over year. Last year we did over 55% more revenue.
It'll be a way to connect people. It'll enable communities. I fight cancer because I want it gone.
We will end the pain and suffering caused by cancer in different ways, the app being one of them.
Sorry for the techno flair on that. No idea. But anyways, the American Cancer Society, one of their great customers. Okay, so I wanted to give you some sort of sense of some momentum and numbers and sheer size of our ecosystem. Okay, so .NET Core, just on .NET Core, we've now hit over 750,000 .NET Core developers. That's active developers that are using .NET Core every day. And over the last year, across the entire platform, we've seen 1 million, plus 1 million. So we're literally growing across our workloads. So the sheer size of the ecosystem is pretty fantastic. The other thing that we've been really working on extremely hard since .NET Core came to be is performance. Okay, so you'll see a lot of the reason why our customers are moving to .NET Core is because of the performance of ASP.NET particularly.
Exactly.
Tech Empower, when we worked with them to actually even be on Tech Empower. Tech Empower measures a bunch of different benchmarks for different app frameworks and stacks, okay, web stacks. Tech Empower saw like us, the most significant performances increase they have ever seen with .NET Core. So here, just give you some idea of the comparisons here. This is Tech Empower round 16. I think we're already on 17, but .NET is 8 times faster than Node.js at this point, okay? And that's exactly why Raygun moved to it. We still, every release, improve on that performance, every release, okay? So, yeah.
And I've got one other number.
What?
My favorite thing, SignalR.
Yes.
We actually found an opportunity. That's what I like to call bugs. We found an opportunity in SignalR, and we actually have increased its throughput to over 2 million messages that can be sent a minute. So imagine 2 million messages with 2 million different connected clients all at the same time. So we've actually doubled that number. There's a couple of different things we want to tweak to make sure that we can keep that number that high, but we're really seeing huge upticks in our performance. And a lot of it is the Kestrel server stuff and the different things that we're doing in the pipeline.
So if you're a web developer and you need to squeeze as much performance out of your web applications, .NET Core is really going to be your friend there. In fact, Bing.com, the front end of Bing, moved to .NET Core 2.1, particularly for the improvements in the speed. Like we added a lot of stuff at the base of the framework itself, so you will just inherit those speed increases with span. So this blog post goes into details of like exactly what Bing.com did and how their performance improved and what like different pieces of the framework they used to get those. And when we did this story, that got picked up on Hacker News and it got picked up in the press. And so it was actually, we'll dog food our own stuff, that we do that a lot. And so this was also, we did an interview with the head engineer at Bing, and he goes in and we talked to him like, okay, so how'd you do it? What did you do? So they moved from .NET Framework to .NET Core, okay, on their front end.
And also given the fact that .NET Core runs on every platform now, we're seeing new customers adopt it that we'd never thought we'd see before. We're seeing new people build applications that run on devices like the television,
right.
Et cetera, et cetera. So we're seeing all kinds of new and exciting ways people are using .NET and .NET Core.
And so if Bing can use .NET Core, you can too. Mm-hmm. All right. Mm-hmm. Okay, so let me move. I'm having trouble with this computer.
Goes from the machine again.
I should have used my own computer. There we go. All right, let's talk a little bit about the .NET Foundation. We have over 60 projects in the .NET Foundation. The .NET Foundation is really about your center of gravity for the .NET open source ecosystem. It started we founded the foundation in 2014 when we started the .NET Core project itself. And since then, we've had customers like Pivotal and Mono join the foundation and bring their communities together too, working on .NET open source together. Worldwide Telescope was also it's like the project that you would expect scientists to use, right? So this is used in a lot of museums and that sort of stuff. So these are not all just developer platforms and frameworks. Some of these are end consumer stuff. Mm-hmm. So Worldwide Telescope and Bracco, we've got a couple CMS's, Orchard in here as well. I'm super proud of the momentum that we've had in the last 4 years, 5 years now. We've had over 61,000 contributions from outside of Microsoft. So it's not just Microsoft employees working on all these things, it's like people like you. So I just want to say thank you to who has contributed to a .NET Foundation project or a doc or anything, made a pull request somewhere. All right, I would like to see more. Okay, you guys all should be able, you use .NET, rely on it every day, help the ecosystem, give back a little bit.
What's exciting is you gave this talk with John in San Diego a couple of months back, and she pulled out this deck from that talk and we had to make some updates to it, and one of the numbers was that first number. I think it was like in the 20s.
It was at 25,000.
And like if you think that many contributions have been made since last year. Since the fall.
So right, and that's like, this number is from like the base platform. So .NET Core, Mono, like it's not all of the projects within the foundation. It's hard for us to measure all of them. So it's a lot higher if you look at the total. And if you look at Microsoft employees, it's like double. So. Okay, so anyways, apply for membership. Basically, like we are going through elections now, so we are going to expand our board to 7 members. I am going to be the appointed one by Microsoft. So I'm on the board, and I would love to see some like really fun people to work with on this board. We're going to 7 members. Each company can have up to 2 people, so we're not going to have like a whole stack of Microsoft people on the board, which is nice. So, because right now we have 3 people on the board. Oren is one of them, and we have 2 Microsoft employees, Miguel and who's the other board member?
Galloway?
No, Galloway's the executive director, so that just means he works for the board.
Okay, that makes sense.
Good, I have someone to work for me, finally.
That's good.
Okay. Anyways, so please get involved. Another way to get involved is Meetup. So join a Meetup, run a Meetup. We have created a Meetup Pro account. Like that's basically like we pay for the Meetup fees for all of these user groups around the world. And we're up to 225 groups, almost 165,000 members in 52 countries. So this kind of gives you an idea, hey, .NET's not dying, it's growing. And this number I think is probably out of date because every day a new group joins the foundation.
And speaking of meetups, one of our speakers in the center of the room, Lauren, is actually going to be speaking at a meetup tonight. So if you're interested, if you just can't get enough and you want to go to a meetup after the conference, that would be intense. But if you want to do that, you can look at meetup.com, and I think you can find out about Lawrence Meetup. So.
It's a brand new meetup in Las Vegas, Azure Meetup. Nice. That's fantastic. Tell them to ping us and we'll get them in the foundation. All right? Cool. That's freaking awesome. I love it. All right, so 87%, there it is. There's the number of 61,000. 87% is outside of Microsoft, so that's just really great. And that's not confidential. I don't know why it says confidential at all. It better not be.
I was thinking,
oops, I'm just fired.
I think we're good.
Okay. Here's kind of another number that you can, I think it was Jim Zemlin from the Linux Foundation that said there are millions of open source projects out there. Find the ones to contribute to that are making a difference, right? So this is a cloud, CNCF basically just looks at like logarithmic, how do you say that?
Logarithmic.
The number of pull requests and issues and how many are being accepted. So you'll see like Linux kernel is like the top project, so that's what the definition of velocity is. You'll notice that .NET is actually the #1 programming platform there. So, and we'll see Microsoft Docs as well accepting a lot of the pull requests as well. So this kind of gives you a sense of like what the velocity is of our open source.
And also if you look at this and you think about, like, don't just think about the fact that we're getting close. Think about the fact that we got that close in that amount of time. You know, like if you see where Linux has always been open source, however many decades.
That's a good point.
Yeah,
we
just did this, and we're right there.
Yeah, 2014, November 2014.
Right, that's crazy. And that amount of time we've gotten that.
A little over 4 years, right? So this is like the velocity is pretty fantastic. I'm very proud. Okay, if I could just get this to...
Hit the right arrow. Go like that.
What was jiggering when I hit the right arrow last time? It went through all the slides. Did you see that? So I'm nervous. See? Do you see this? I'm telling you, dude.
It's a ghost. That's
it's it. It's it. I'm not touching that anymore.
Okay, I won't touch it. I'm not touching it.
Look at this doing. This computer is
Really,
like...
really weird.
Okay,
Not this
definitely
computer anymore.
Sorry, guys. Okay.
I won't touch it again.
I'm going to fill out the survey that the computers on the stage don't work. Rocky. What is going on? Like the mouse is... It's like somebody's doing this. Look at it. I'm not touching it. Do you see that?
So strange. Do we have an F5?
Technical difficulties going on here.
That's really, really weird.
Yeah, totally weird.
That's weird.
Sorry, guys.
Sorry about
All right. Whoa.
You know what we're going to do? We're going to solve this problem.
Can you just go over and use
gonna
your
solve this
machine?
Tell a joke.
Just use your machine.
I'm trying.
Sorry.
I'm doing it. And which slide are we on?
After the CNCF.
Okay, cool.
You want 16.
It's opening. Sorry, everybody. Network.
The Mac works. Of course. It's Apple's
She
sponsor.
hates it when I do this.
Is
Yeah,
it
that's
opening?
weird. It's like, I don't know.
Why is it downloading?
I don't know why it's downloading.
Don't.
'Cause it's in
Why is it
SharePoint.
downloading from your machine? It's on your machine.
It's actually on SharePoint.
Okay.
Well, go back to your thing.
I can't. It's, look at what it's like.
Is it still doing it? Yeah. Okay, well, it's opening. It's
All right. Okay, so I'll just talk. So open source journey, right? So we were talking a little bit about .NET Core starting 4 years ago.
Yep.
But technically, ECMA 335 was an open spec from the beginning. That's the common language specification. So if you think about that, was 2001. So when .NET, when the founders of .NET were thinking about this new platform, they actually wanted to make it originally cross-platform and open source already. And that was actually Rotor, was an academic exercise mostly, so Microsoft didn't support it, full support it. Back then, our customers kind of relied on Microsoft to build everything for them back in 2001. And that's what we did. So it took us sort of a while to change our culture, all right? When we did that, great, here we go. We started to do that in April 2014. That's when, well, actually in 2008, ASP.NET MVC, that was actually probably the first successful open source project at Microsoft. Okay, that was actually run by Scott Hunter's team, actually.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
Okay,
It was.
Right, so, and Scott Hanselman, you guys all know who Scott Hanselman is, was a huge champion to just get this out of the company, okay? Lots of internal battles. There's a good Medium post by Scott Hunter that recounts all the battles that went on inside of Microsoft to just get this open source in 2008. And then in 2014, the company started to really change, right? It started to embrace open source, especially with Scott Guthrie kind of becoming corporate vice president and executive vice president. And as he moved up, he had that .NET and open source mindset. So you kind of see that. And when Satya came to the company, everything just started to change. Microsoft Heart Linux, and we literally did almost a 180 in the course of 3 or 4 years. So that was actually pretty exciting and a lot of work. Mono joined the foundation in 2016, and that kind of brought us to start to unify these platforms. So we have 3 implementations of .NET. Mono started to contribute to .NET Core, .NET, Microsoft employees contributing back to Mono, and now we're actually seeing the kind of almost the unification of these platforms, and we actually are thinking about these platforms becoming one at a certain point. In December, we released the first preview version of .NET Core 3, okay, and we're going to show some .NET Core 3, and we open sourced WinForms and WPF frameworks, okay? That was big news. Did anybody not hear that? Okay, so we actually have open source WPF and WinForms as well. And .NET Core 3 will support those workloads. Okay, so if you haven't tried it out yet, I encourage you to try the preview. Preview 3 just dropped today. Okay, so .NET Core 3 we're targeting for release in the fall.
You guys didn't hear that, right? She just made an announcement. It just dropped this
Well,
morning.
I think I have a slide actually.
Oh, you
next
did?
one.
You did?
There it is. No, that's available. That's 2.2.
That's what we have out now.
So this is the release version right now, .NET Core 2.2. We did release another preview today of Core 3. So Brady, what's our themes of .NET Core 2.2? Okay, so we've got some improved, web development stuff. We've got microservices.
Why don't you take a sip of water and I'll talk about that?
Continued performance improvements.
Yeah,
Okay, I can read a slide.
I can talk about that.
Good.
That's good. So really what we've really been capitalizing on or really doubling down on over the past probably year is really concentrating on, like she said, the performance. But this centerpiece right here is one that I've really important to me, is giving people a better way to do microservices, whether you're doing it in Azure or not in Azure. And the idea behind that is being able to containerize your applications and put them anywhere.
Why would I want microservices?
Pardon?
Why do I want microservices?
Why do you want microservices? That's a great question. I was actually having a good conversation with our buddy Glenn Condren the other day. And Glenn said we are working on a pet project to kind of do some stuff at MVP Summit. And one of the things in the pet project is a series of microservices that basically we're passing messages through a pump. And at different points, microservice A will do one thing, microservice B will do one thing. So we have one microservice that's like a catalog API, and all it does is it feeds data. And then we have another one that's a orders API that basically just takes orders. And each one of those things does one independent thing. One of the arguments that we had was a really fun debate that I had with Glenn. Was I wanted to basically have one model project. Anybody have one model project that goes across multiple projects, so you kind of have a common language? Microservices, you really don't want to do that, because what that does is that creates, if I want to change a model that is now in two different microservices, I'm going to have to deploy both of them. So one of the best reasons you'd want to use microservices is going to be isolation.
Isolation.
Another one is going to be portability. Another one is going to be scaling out or scaling up.
Okay.
So yeah, you can do all these things.
So you could technically have teams just working completely independently. In different languages even.
You absolutely could.
With containers.
Exactly.
And that's
so you could have .NET Core in one container in a Kubernetes cluster. Then you could have Node in a different guy, and you could party all those together.
And so performance improvements are critical actually
Absolutely.
for these cloud scale type of applications.
And speaking of the performance improvement, something that you're going to see, one of the themes that you'll actually see coming in our 3.0 wave, we're starting to talk about it already, is we're actually going to be supporting gRPC. So if you want to do HTTP2 and gRPC, inside of your clusters so that you have super fast stuff inside of your domain or inside of your clusters, you're going to have that capability coming up really, really soon with .NET Core 3.0.
So that's the remote procedure call of the future, basically, right?
Yes.
Okay, so
it's like faster than fast.
So instead of WCF, we should be using gRCP.
You should think about using gRPC.
Okay,
yeah.
got it.
I don't want to say instead of. You can still do things with WCF.
Instead of remoting.
Right.
Okay, got it. Okay. Cool. So some major features here. This multi-tier JIT compilation, that's an opt-in. So that's a performance feature that we enabled in .NET Core 2.2. It will be on by default in 3.0. We're still making sure that all the customer scenarios are covered. So because sometimes an app breaks if it goes too fast, actually, believe it or not. SQL connection, token authentication in the framework itself. And we also added support for Nano Server and IoT Core with Windows ARM32 support in the runtime. So you're going to start seeing more and more and more devices that are capable of running .NET. ASP.NET, what are your favorite features?
My favorite thing in ASP.NET Core that we recently released is this concept right here called a health check. If you ever look at health checks and you talk about the open source stuff, there's actually a open source project on GitHub. I can't remember what they're called now. But we've linked to them in our docs. And it's a different group of guys who have actually gone out and they've created a bunch of different health checks for things like, is my database alive? Is my Oracle database alive? Like, can I get to this endpoint? Yada, yada, yada. So the idea behind those health checks is you can actually put these health checks inside of your applications, especially when it's a microservice type scenario, so that your microservices know whether or not they should or shouldn't even come online.
Got it. So we have more microservices patterns even coming down the pike.
Right.
More. Okay.
You'll see a lot of that, and then some stuff that we're working on. Does anybody ever have to write like a background service worker? You ever have like an XE that just runs and processes a queue, for instance? We're going to give you a new worker template that's coming out pretty soon as well.
Cool.
So you'll be able to do .NET new worker, and you'll go ahead and get started writing a background worker task. So those are great for microservices as well.
Okay, well, so why don't you show us some things? Show off some .NET Core 2.2, please.
I think we're actually here. We're at the .NET 2 Core 2.2 demo slide, so that's good stuff. Due to the technical issues we've had, I'm going to kind of hop through some of these real quickly. Anybody ever heard of Swagger, or the new name for it, the Open API Initiative, which is so much,
I didn't name that.
So much easier than Swagger. One thing that was really important to me is I was actually, whereas you're on the .NET Foundation, I was actually a part of the Swagger working group.
Okay.
So I helped.
I didn't know that. That's cool.
Yeah, it was cool.
Okay.
Tip: don't get involved in a governance project. It's not fun.
Okay.
Pro tip.
So what is Swagger?
So what Swagger is, anybody remember what WSDL was for your SOAP services? Anybody ever use SOAP? Okay. SOAP is really good for, large payloads, XML, but Swagger is really good for just, normal plain Jane REST APIs. So what I've got here is a typical, controller base. I've got a people controller. And this is a static list. Don't do this. As soon as your web server shuts off, you're going to lose your state. It's a demo. Forgive us. And you can see here that in my get, I'm really just going to get back that list of people. And if I were to scroll down here, I could actually get one independently, or I could actually do a post here. Okay, so what I'm going to show you here is I'm just going to go to my command line, and I'm just going to say .NET run, and that's just going to start the, CD. I'm not going to be in there for long.
Okay.
I'm going to do a .NET run. I could do this from my Windows machine running VS if I want to, but I have a tool here that I want to show you in just a moment. So I've got this guy running now. So I'm going to go here and just do a quick refresh, and all I had to do was put Swagger at the end of this guy, and it's going to go ahead and do two things. It's going to give me a Swagger payload if I want it, which I'll paste in right here. There's our Swagger JSON that basically describes every single thing my API can do. And if I look here at people, I can actually test this out.
Oh, that's cool.
So if I go right here, I can just test it out. So what this does is this gives you a way to be able to test out your APIs, make sure it's doing what you expect it to do. That's not all this guy can do. Okay? So the next thing I'll show you is we have this concept in .NET, these global tools that you can run from the command line. Okay? So I'll do this in the command line just really briefly. I'm just going to say .NET HTTP REPL. And the idea behind the HTTP REPL is it's going to give me a way that I can actually iterate over the different things that my API can do from the command line. Why would you want to do that? I like the command line. You might not like it as much as me. What I'll do here is I'll just say set base. And the idea behind this is I'm basically telling it what the base of all the other requests is going to be. And I want to copy out this JSON file real quick, or this URL, and I'm going to say set Swagger, and I'll paste this in. Uh-oh. What did I do wrong? Oh, set Swagger.
And then paste.
And then paste.
There you go.
There we go. Okay, so now I've just got this guy loaded up. I want to really quickly do a clear screen here, and I'm just going to say ls, or dir. Now you can see that I can actually see the individual areas in my API, and what I'll do now is I'll just cd into people, and I'll just do a get. You'll see there's all the people. What if I want to create a new one? Just type post. It's actually going to open up my favorite editor. I'll go right here and put 42, because Beth is the answer to everything. I'll just hit save. Go back to my command line real quickly. Let me see if let me zoom back out again. I apologize. And that should have worked. There it goes. And now I'll do it one more time. I'll do a get. And we've actually created a new entry right here inside of that API.
Cool.
Is that kind of neat? So we actually get the power of Swagger, being able to describe all those APIs. We're going to be putting that in the box pretty soon too.
Okay, great.
Yeah, it's pretty hot stuff. It's good stuff.
Cool. That's your favorite feature?
That's my favorite feature of this area.
Okay.
That's not my favorite feature all up, but you already know that. So I'll show you what my favorite thing is. This is a new feature. This is coming in our 3.0 wave. So what I'll show you here is I've got this URL pulled up, streamer.azurewebsites.net. So early on in the SignalR core stuff, we actually added a really awesome new feature called streaming, where you can actually stream from the server to the client. Instead of doing kind of a pub sub approach, you can stream data. It's going to be really exciting once we get into C# 8 features. What I'll do here is I'll show you a brand new feature we've got coming in 3.0, where you can do client to server streaming. So when I hit start streaming, it's going to turn on my camera. If I scroll down here, you'll see here's my image. And what's going on is we're using an open source thing that takes every single frame. Let me tell you what this looks like. Takes every single frame. It converts that frame into ASCII data, then sends that ASCII data to the server. Then it goes back out to all the clients. Then it draws. So think of how fast all that's happening.
Okay.
Pretty amazing, right?
Multi-client would actually see that.
Right.
Okay.
And we have a video of this.
And that has to be really fast. That's why you're saying that needs a stream.
Super fast. So that's a stream. So I can actually turn that off now.
That's pretty cool.
So we'll stop streaming. I actually have a video that came out yesterday on Channel 9 on SignalR, and we actually showed this feature. So if you want to see more about this, you can go out there and check it out.
Cool.
Cool. Awesome.
So if you're doing really massive scale real-time communication, you need SignalR.
Yeah, use SignalR.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Use SignalR because it's awesome.
Okay.
And you can do awesome demos with it.
Let's talk a little bit about Azure.
Let's talk about Azure.
Okay, so
my other favorite thing.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, like .NET is like supported in hundreds of services across Azure, okay? There is, I don't know of one service that does not support .NET. .NET is really the best cloud for Azure because Microsoft invented .NET, they invented Azure. Every one of our engineers that works on an Azure service does a .NET SDK first. It's just, that's the number one programming platform that we think about first.
Exactly.
Okay?
And the funny part is, you know how they generate those SDKs? They actually use Swagger because we decorate our APIs with Swagger. So,
Yep. So one of the favorite services I think probably for you is the SignalR service.
Exactly.
So you just showed us SignalR, but what if you needed to create your own backplane and
That's a
manage
great
your own
question.
servers and that
That's
kind of thing, right?
yeah.
Now you don't need to do that
You don't
because we
need to
have
do
a
that anymore.
service in Azure that
Exactly.
does all that for you.
That's exactly right. So the idea behind the SignalR service is if you want to use, let's say, app service, which we'll talk about here in a moment, if you want to use app service to actually host your HTTP applications, such as your web app or what have you, you could turn on WebSockets and you could get the, the real-time capability. The nice thing about SignalR is, if you can learn about this tomorrow in my SignalR session, but it'll actually figure out which protocol to use. So if for whatever reason WebSockets isn't enabled, it'll back off and try to use long polling and so forth and so on. But the nice thing about the Azure SignalR service is it offloads all of that real-time traffic to the Azure SignalR service, and it actually acts like a proxy. So if you, for whatever reason, wanted to scale out and have like multiple instances of your app service, the SignalR service would sit behind those and transmit all the messages between all the different servers.
So it's a managed platform. You
It's a
don't
managed
have to
platform.
do it at all.
That's
Okay.
great.
That's
And literally there's 2 lines of code that you change to go from a hub running on your server to a hub hosted in the service. It's
Cool.
just like that. So,
So
and a
awesome.
NuGet. Yeah, it's pretty awesome.
Fantastic.
It's good stuff.
And it's you get cloud scale automatic.
It's incredibly
and
fast.
You don't
You
have
can,
to worry about managing your own
yeah, I mean,
backplane at all.
You pay for it by units of 100,000 connections. It's pretty awesome.
okay.
Yeah, so
Okay.
yeah, or 10,000. Yeah. But it's huge. It's big time.
You should all have Azure credits if you're Visual Studio subscribers, by the way, so you can play with it today. Okay, so we'll talk a little bit about Visual Studio. That's my personal favorite. That's kind of weird how that got messed up on the Mac right there. Accelerate your cloud development. There are tons of tools inside Visual Studio just for cloud development, right? Publish is great for just trying out services for the first time. We've got the connected services for easily finding some services, like new services you may discover. One of my favorite is actually Application Insights with CodeLens. So App Insights, you can work in the portal or you can work inside of Visual Studio itself, and it really gives you all that great telemetry in performance and user behavior about your application. And then snapshot debugging is another one of my favorites, where you can literally hit breakpoints in production like applications. So running in the cloud, you can find anomalies, you can debug, you can set breakpoints, and you can step through. It's
Without
pretty
actually
fantastic.
stopping your app.
No
Your app
other
will continue
cloud
to run.
actually has that at all. Okay, so that's a big feature for Visual Studio and Azure. Okay, so Visual Studio is launching in 2019, launching Tuesday, April 2nd at 9 a.m. Pacific time. So they're going to have we're going to have a keynote, we're going to have a lot of live sessions, Q&A, there's going to be a party, like a virtual attendee party on Twitch, so it's all online. We also have over 170 events at this point around the world, meetups and that sort of thing, so you can go join people and watch it yourselves. There's a lot of watch parties. These events will run all the way through end of June as well, so go pick up some swag at your local meetups. So April 2nd, we get kicked off. I'm very excited. RC just dropped last week, so if you haven't tried it out yet, give it a shot. Cool. The other thing I want to mention is if you guys are thinking about moving to Azure and you're having some trouble, or you want to ask questions, or you need some assistance, we actually go to AKMS, migrate to the cloud. On that page, you can apply for free assistance for the .NET team. You may be eligible to even get a free code. It's like a static code analysis, and it will analyze your application and will tell you how many hours it will take to migrate to the cloud, what services are more appropriate for your particular application. Like if we're just talking about websites, app service is actually probably the best fit. But we can talk about containerization and that kind of thing. So it actually kind of looks at your application and gives you good suggestions on how to migrate it. So go ahead there, and there's a ton of free ebooks up there and that sort of thing to get you moving.
And if you're thinking about moving towards microservices, I'm sure, how many of you are contemplating a move towards microservices or serverless, thinking about either? If you're thinking about the microservice track, I would definitely recommend this center book here, which is an ebook you can download from the site.
Yep.
It has a wealth of great information. It's more IT pro-y than Devi, I would say, but it's definitely got a lot of great information if you want to like take your application and modernize it and then scale up using
It's more
microservices.
architecture. It's more like architecture
very high
guidance
level,
on
yeah.
that. So it's very high level. It's a little higher level. We have another book actually that is about building the containers
Right.
themselves from scratch that goes a little deeper and that sort of thing.
That'd be good too.
So there's also an entire architecture center that we have off of www.net. So it's hard to say it looks
It is.
right,
.net.
But anyways, go check it out. A lot of different patterns and that sort of thing. So Brady, you're going to show us a
quick
demo,
demo.
Azure demo.
Cool.
What are you going to show us?
I'm going to show you something, another one of my awesome favorite new features. Not in SignalR. Mind you.
What? Not in SignalR?
It's crazy, right? So has anybody used CI/CD, or have you tried out, use TeamCity, Jenkins, doesn't matter which one, Azure DevOps, et cetera, et cetera. How many of you tried out Azure DevOps or used to use Visual Studio Online and now you are Azure DevOps?
Visual Studio Team Services, it used to be
Team
called.
Services, right. So what I'm going to show you here is how you can really get started, if you've already got code and you want to get it deployed to Azure quickly. I'm going to kind of give you a quick tour as how you can do that without actually doing right-click publish, because friends don't let friends right-click publish. So
It's good for testing.
except for testing. That's true.
Not
Yeah,
necessarily
for testing, it's great.
For team development,
Right.
not so good.
But see, that's the best part about Azure, in my opinion, is you can actually set up your own resource group, party on that resource group, do right-click deploy to it and not break production, and then use your CI/CD to move to production.
With state,
Yeah, or you can do the
slots,
switch.
you can do swaps. Yeah.
We also have slots you can swap. So I've got just a simple little, ASP.NET Core app right here, and what I want to do is actually want to create a new web. So I'll go here and just create a brand new web app. And I want to show you a couple of things that we have in here, and I'll just call this guy VSLive Demo 2. Demo 2. And I'm going to put that into this subscription. And I'm going to use existing resource group that I already have, VSLive, because I'm going to just delete everything later. So one thing I want to point out here, which I think is just a great thing that the team has done, is all these settings that I have right here. So the default for me is Linux, because it knows that I like Linux and I'm also on a Mac, so it kind of makes an assumption. But a lot of people in here would probably use Windows. But this is the other cool part. I can actually select a Docker image, and it will actually pull that Docker image down from Docker Hub and get me started quickly. So I can actually do that for Windows or for a Linux image. I'm not going to do that today.
And we at
.NET
.NET Core, we have images on Docker Hub
right.
that you can grab.
We do. And if you want to bring your own, like if you're trying to use some of the preview features in 3.0, 3.0 isn't deployed because it's not, we don't have a go live for it, it's not ready quite yet. But what you could do is you could actually build your own container and put that container up in the app service. So I'm going to do a create right here. And what that's going to do is it's going to go out and just create an app service for me and kind of get me started. The next thing I'm going to do is I'm actually going to go into what's called the deployment center, which is right here inside of the portal as well. I'm going to let this guy build real quick. And all he's going to do is just kind of create an empty web app. Sorry, takes a second. So
the deployment center is like your hub for what?
It's basically, what it does is it gives you quite a few different options to be able to deploy your application up to Azure from GitHub, from Azure DevOps repos, et cetera, et cetera. Since I've already got it in GitHub, what I'm going to do is I'm going to create what's called a new Azure DevOps pipeline, and I'll just kind of get that started. I won't actually let the whole thing run. But what I'll do now is I'll say go to resource, which is actually that web app that I just created, and I'll click browse right here to just go ahead and open it up, and you'll see that it's just the default app service, hosting start HTML page, I think is what they actually call it. And I love how they've actually given, you can actually go and see their shows as well if you want to. And they do great shows. So what I'll do here is I'll scroll down and you'll see Deployment Center. And I know that I already have that Git repository in GitHub. So that's what I'm going to select right here. If you wanted to create your own, or if you're using Bitbucket, or heck, you could even deploy your code from Dropbox if you want to. I'll go ahead and do GitHub right here since I've already got that repo. And this is the second option. This is the original build server for app service. It's called Kudu. The Kudu engine, also open source, totally on GitHub. This is the new guy, Azure Pipelines. So I'll just click continue right here. I'm just going to select my GitHub organization, and then I need to select the repo that I want, and I'm going to just party on master. And then I have my own Azure DevOps guy in here, ready to do demos, because that's what I do. And I'll go ahead and select this VSLive demo project, because I haven't put anything into that yet, I don't believe. You'll see that I've got my project over here, VSLive demo project, and this one's already got some stuff in it, so you don't have to wait for all this to happen. And the last thing I'll do is I'll select ASP.NET Core, and what that'll do is that'll actually set up that build pipeline specific to, no, I don't want to slot that. And I was practicing this demo earlier this morning. That is a new screen. Does that tell you how fast we're going?
Yeah, that always happens actually.
Yeah, that's a new
So
screen.
Azure updates itself and your new button,
like, whoa.
or they move a button.
Yeah.
I hate when they
Yeah.
move a button.
Yeah, moving buttons is bad.
Where'd the button go?
Moving buttons is bad. It's worse than moving cheese.
In the demo, it just slows you down.
Right. So literally what is happening right now is it's going out and it's taking a look at my existing Azure DevOps project and it's checking out to see if I have any existing pipelines. It's not going to mess with anything that I already have there. What it will do is it will create a brand new pipeline, and that pipeline will be completely wired up to build my .NET Core application, package that up with a publish, .NET publish command, and then actually take that and drop it out into my app service running live for me. So what this does is it gives me the ability to start with a DevOps mindset, which is absolutely what you should be doing. Okay, and you don't have to worry about how do I build it, how do I learn it. It's all already there. You'll see that's actually going right now. But what I'll show you is, oh, there we go. So it says it's already set up the deployment. So what I'll do here is I will go over to this guy. And if I were to look at my pipelines, you'll see there's my new pipeline, and it's already started the build. The build is actually already kicked off and started to run, and it's probably pulling code from GitHub, and it'll build it and do all of its good stuff. If you're wondering if it has unit tests, like if it'll automatically say, oh, I see that you have unit tests and run them for you, I don't know. I just came up with that question.
Oh.
So I don't know if it'll do that or not,
ask
but
Kendra.
that's what I'll test later. So I'll test that out later and see if that works. But you can see that it's actually building, and if I were to flip back over to my dashboard here and show you this, if I do a refresh, you'll see that it's actually, should probably see that my build is triggered. It'll take it a minute. If I were to actually click on the build, you'll see everything running here. And the best part about this is the moment that I get finished publishing, I could actually go out to my Git repo, make a quick change to it, do the commit, and the moment I do that commit, this build is going to start
kick
up
off again.
So we're already dialed in. So if I go ahead in here and I refresh it, oh, that probably hasn't deployed yet. Oh, well, that's the next step. But it
has to build
works.
before it
It has to
deploys.
build. Yeah, it has to build first.
You can't do that asynchronous.
Then it does the, yeah.
Right.
You can't push before you, that would be bad.
Okay, got it. So
Okay.
that's pretty fast, really easy way to get started with Azure pipelines.
Yep.
And exactly, starting with a DevOps mindset.
Yes.
Key.
People, products, and whatever else it is Donovan says.
Teams, I don't know.
Yeah, rub
All
some
right.
DevOps on it.
We're not good at being Donovan.
No,
Anyways.
no.
Okay, so thanks, Bray. That was actually pretty cool.
cool.
So let's talk a little bit about like the future as we move forward. Okay. So .NET Core 2 was we really focused on workloads for the cloud and the web. Okay. That was really where you saw a lot of our investments today. Even with .NET Core 2.2, the workload scenarios are cloud, web, microservices, web-based applications. I'm going to make you just do this while I... .NET Core 3, we're looking at expanding the workloads that we support with .NET Core, particularly to Windows desktop, IoT, you'll see, and artificial intelligence and machine learning. Mm-hmm. So we're doing a lot of different investments in the .NET Core 3 runtime to support these new workloads. And why would you want to run, I don't know, .NET, like WPF app, say, on .NET Core? Right? Or why would I want to run my WinForms app on .NET Core?
Fast.
Okay, well, fast is good.
Yeah,
fast is good.
fast is
but
definitely
what
good.
if you're like, I don't care, it's a client. I really don't care about the speed as much. It's not as critical, right, when it's a client-based application, right?
Well, you want your user experience to be good.
Okay, there's a couple other reasons why you want to go to .NET Core. One is side-by-side installation.
Yep.
Okay, so you basically don't have to rely on the .NET framework being a machine-wide install and possibly breaking your applications. You can now deploy the framework with the application, as well as self-contain an EXE. So like the framework's inside the EXE. So you can just hand somebody an EXE that doesn't even have .NET framework on the machine, and they can run your application. Okay, so that's a pretty
That's
cool
a big
thing.
deal. Yeah.
I wanted that in 2002, by the way. But anyways,
I think everybody
finally
did.
got it. Finally got that done. So let's flip the slide actually. So .NET Core 3, Preview 3 just dropped an hour ago. So Preview 3 is now available. It's got some, like we actually are enabling a file new project in Visual Studio as well. So if you have the RC, .NET Core 3 works with Visual Studio 2019. So download the RC, download the Preview, and you'll be able to create new applications, Windows desktop applications on top of .NET Core.
And please tell us what opportunities we have to make it better. Please.
So let's talk a little bit about some themes. It's not all about desktop. So we've got still web app development, productivity, and microservices. So you're going to see a lot of investments in what we're calling Razor components to make productivity a lot better and the experience a lot better of building web applications and microservices. And we're also investing a lot in machine learning with ML.NET, which is a framework that's in the .NET Foundation that was actually an internal. It was internal for years. It's the magic behind Bing, behind Office, behind PowerPoint that kind of like predicts what you want. Like here's a design, or here search results, or that kind of thing. So ML.NET is now available to you, so you can use machine learning, prediction models, all kinds of different types of machine learning in your own applications, any application. It's a cross-platform implementation of that framework. So desktop improvements. So I mentioned you basically we're thinking about your applications today. A lot of WinForms and WPF in the room at all? Yeah. Okay. Your applications are probably really business critical and super important to you, and you don't want to just reinvent you don't want to maybe go to UWP because it's not value. You don't have that value, right? You want to run these applications, and you don't want to take and have to migrate the whole thing at once. So what we're really thinking about with this is kind of you could take a phased or set at your own pace or a phased migration approach to adding in things that you may need. For instance, like modern media controls, right? Or a browser. Maybe you want to use the modern browser control. Like WinForms is kind of stuck with the older browser control, right? You want to use Windows 10 APIs. You want to use inking. You want to do that. That's exactly what these improvements are going to give you. Whether you're in .NET Framework or .NET Core, this is not .NET Core specific. So the next version of .NET Framework and the next version of .NET Core 3, you'll be able to use these things called XAML islands, which means that in your WPF applications, you'll be able to use UWP native controls. Okay, so you'll be able to kind of take a phased migration approach to adding new features and moving towards Windows 10 as you see fit. Okay. And then I just mentioned here that deployment flexibility is kind of key. The core runtime and API improvements. So basically, if you move to core, you will have the latest innovative framework and runtime and languages always, right? .NET Framework is actually slowing down. Okay, we couldn't put all of those performance improvements inside of the .NET Framework implementation. Not all of them. We did a lot of them, but we couldn't get all of them. It required runtime changes, and we do not ever want to change the .NET Framework runtime ever again. Okay? We will always make improvements for security, for bug fixes, for making sure that it always works on the latest version of Windows, whatever, 11, 12, but we're not going to break the CLR.
Never.
Okay?
Never.
So what's the future of the .NET Framework? It's slowing down. Okay? .NET Core is really where our investments are going forward. You're going to see, like I said, some things are going to start to diverge. C# 8, certain features are not going to be available actually in .NET Framework. Okay? So we're going to start innovating a lot faster, a lot better, or a lot more in .NET Core. We have had so many customers have compatibility issues with the .NET Framework that we really want it to be super compatible, like a high compatibility bar. We will change, we will update it, but we're not going to try and break you. No changes to the support policy. .NET Framework is going to be deployed with Windows and .NET Framework are married, basically. Their support policies together. So 10 years of support, 5 mainstream, 5 custom, that does not change. So don't feel like you have to move, I got to move on to .NET Core now, right this second. You don't have to. And you don't ever have to either if you don't want to. We have large applications at Microsoft running on .NET Framework that are not going to move either. Okay, but know that it is slowing down. So Brady, we're going to show a little demo of .NET Core for desktop apps. I think we just, like I said in the RC, we just lit up the project templates.
If I can escape. I can't escape. All right, so what I'm going to do really quickly is just open up a new instance of VS because I don't want to get rid of that one. And I'll just do really quickly, I'm going to do file new project experience here. Let's do create new project. And what you'll see right off the bat is that I've got a WPF app right here, .NET Framework, and I've got another one, a WPF app with .NET Core. I'm going to go ahead and select .NET Core, and I'll just leave the defaults alone and just let that be. And what we want to kind of show you here is that whenever you create a brand new app, you know, if you've gotten used to using XAML, as a lot of us have, all the designers are still there. Everything is exactly the same.
So the designers are not working in the previews yet, okay? The designers themselves.
All the designer, yeah.
So
I see that. Yeah.
But you know,
But we're working
you
on
can use XAML.
Yeah. But we do have this cool thing. This cool thing.
But you can set
select.
breakpoints. So
That's
the
what I
idea
was
is,
talking
yeah, we're doing a file new project, but know that you're, probably using binary references to, like, teller controls or a vendor's controls, and you don't have source code. It's okay, because when you retarget your applications, it's binary compatible. It will actually, those will just move to .NET Core. You don't need to have to source code to recompile the application. And Brady's just showing the fact that you can actually use all the tools inside of Visual Studio that you're normal and used to. Really, all you're doing is retargeting the application. Now, there are certain things you're going to want to test. There's going to be there may be some compatibility. There may be some APIs that aren't available in .NET Core. So what we've done is we've created the Windows compatibility pack so that we add over like 25,000 APIs back that are Windows specific APIs. You're still doing Windows desktop apps. You need Windows APIs. So we just kind of separated that. So you'll have to get that NuGet package and bring that in. We actually have a whole show like where Scott Hunter and Ollie are going through and how to step-by-step port these applications today with the preview. There's a little bit of manual editing on the proj file, I think, right now, but that's just a preview thing. Really what we want to get to is, like, how you retarget your .NET Framework apps, just to go 4.7.1, 4.7.2. That's kind of where we want to get to. So you can just go core and debug the thing and see if it works, okay? Right now, if you want to try it out in preparation, watch this show and they go through step-by-step on how to do that.
And they show a couple of tricks on how you can make VS do some interesting things that it's not supposed to be able to do yet.
Right.
So I would definitely take a peek at that.
And I'm sure by build we'll have some designers to show, I'm told.
I think so.
Yeah.
This
Okay.
is the exciting part.
This is your favorite, right?
This is
okay.
your
Who would just love to just stop writing JavaScript? Just stop. I just want to write C#. That's all I want to do on the client, on the server. That's exactly where we're moving to. That's what Razor components are, and Blazor. Okay, so Razor components are going to be part of .NET Core 3. Okay, they are. I know, Brady. They use a little SignalR juice in there, don't they?
They do. They have SignalR under the covers, which is pretty nice.
So you can basically write these components, and they still are going to run on the server until WebAssembly, which is a technology that's being worked on, like, in the open, in the community, right, in the general, not just .NET community.
Right.
It's still experimental, but that's what's Blazor. That's our Blazor project. Okay, so, but right now, Razor components are a good first step, right? Because they're going to be compatible when we get the WebAssembly support.
Right.
Then you'll be able to pull those components and run them on the browser itself. That's native code running in the browser, right?
And just to be clear, this is the Razor component stuff is a step towards Blazor.
Right.
But it's not. Go ahead and try using Razor components, because you'll probably have apps that you leave in Razor components. It's just really great that you have that, Angular style of, like, being able to generate your HTML on the server side, and then just push it back down. That's really fantastic.
Right.
Life is a lot easier that way.
Life's a lot easier.
Yeah.
Awesome. So did
keep
you have a
going?
demo of that one? What did we do?
That's the last demo.
Oh, that's the last demo. Oh, right. Okay. All right. Okay. So we're going to have a demo of that one, but we're going to do a cool demo with these both together.
Yeah,
all right.
exactly,
Let's talk a little bit about ML.NET now. All right. So machine learning. Who's a fancy data scientist in here? Yeah, they wouldn't come here, I'm pretty sure. And there's not a lot of them either, honestly. There's way more developers than there are data scientists, right? So what we've done is we've tried to create this framework that's really natural for .NET developers to do their own, like, training their own models, building their own custom models, and generating that code to do predictions or whatever kind of machine learning techniques you want to pick from, and putting that into your applications, whether that's a web application, a WinForms application, any type of application, okay? It's just a framework. It's a non-visual framework for machine learning, okay? This was used by Bing, Office, blah, blah, blah. It was internal, okay? It was really messy and ugly. The APIs were like complicated. And so what they've been doing is we're on preview 9, dot 9, I think.
Like dot 9.
I think we're at right now. They've been improving how the APIs flow and that sort of thing with the community. So I think they have over 10,000 people trying this thing out too.
That's great.
So it's really
That's great.
cool.
I mean,
so we got a lot of great feedback. There's this one customer actually I can talk about. I just got permission from them. This one customer. So bioelectronics. Have you guys heard of this field called bioelectronics? So I think it's really going to like disrupt the pharmaceutical company, because what it is about putting these devices on your nerves and sending pulses down your nerves to help any kind of like bone marrow diseases like arthritis and Crohn's disease and that kind of stuff. SetPoint Medical has been working on this for 10 years. They have a WPF app actually that runs their manufacturing line for this thing. They just ported to .NET Core and they started using ML.NET to do some predictions on how the device works.
That's pretty awesome.
And it's in clinical trials at this point. So yeah, it's very, very interesting.
That's cool. And I'm actually kind of curious as well. Show of hands, and my hand is up, believe me. How many of you have wanted to play around with ML and AI, but you just don't know how to get started?
Yeah.
You don't know what SDK to play with? Okay, cool. Well, we're going to give you one then. So that's great.
Yeah, so flip the slide. A couple of things that you can kind of do, like sentiment analysis. This is good for like, just giving feedback from your websites or something like that. Forecasting, I do a lot of forecasting in marketing, the forecasting. Predictive maintenance, recommendations. There's a ton of samples, so go check those out. And the samples actually tell you, okay, what is customer segmentation and how to use it.
Yeah.
Okay?
They go through all that.
All right, so you do now have a demo showing Razor Components and ML.NET at the same time. It's a double demo.
Yeah, it's a double demo.
It's a double demo.
It's a twofer.
It's a twofer.
And we apologize for keeping you from the birds of the feather lunch.
We have 1 minute.
We're really close to done. I think we can get done that quickly.
We have 1 minute.
Okay, so what I've got here is I've got the app. I've got a simple project open up. And if I were to double click on this sentiment guy and scroll down, this right here, this one line of code is actually what opens up the models and starts to tell us does the predictive analysis.
Correct. So like you want to start with a model, so you have a set of data, right? And actually you can use Azure ML to generate that data too if you really want a lot of data, and then you just feed it right into this framework, right?
So that's our service, and we've got that wired up. And what you'll also see in here if I look at shared is I've got this happiness scale right here. And you'll see that I've just got a little bit of HTML in this.
So that's a Razor component?
This is a Razor component. That's it.
Okay.
It's Razor. Okay.
So there's no JavaScript.
Exactly. No JavaScript. And if I were to scroll through, you would basically see that we've got functions here, and you can actually put the code directly in your Razor function. We're going to have better IntelliSense support in the editor for that.
Okay.
But what I want to do here is actually want to run this because I know everybody really wants to see it running without JavaScript. It's so great. It's awesome. I mean, imagine having to build this kind of a thing using JavaScript. I mean, it would just be all over the place. So here I can literally say happy, and it can see that I'm happy. And if I say depressed and sad, nervous, nervous, there you can see that's actually changing, as we go.
That's funny.
That's funny.
So basically that's running the sentiment analysis by looking at what you're typing in. So if your model, it doesn't have a lot of data in it, it's not going to be as accurate. So the larger that data set that you have, the more accuracy that you'll have. So.
And again, here's some other things you can actually see here that we're actually getting data on the server side right here. And if I were to go to this counter, just to click me, this is actually going back to the server each time, doing the count, and then re-rendering and giving us everything back down to the client.
Well, once WebAssembly is ready, you could just designate that these components run directly inside the browser.
That's my hope. That's my hope.
That is the hope. Yes.
And that's one thing that I would love to see is if you're on Razor Components tomorrow, then the next day you could just go to Blazor with maybe a couple of turns and you'd be ready to go. If we can do that, that would be great.
That's pretty cool. So go check out ML.NET and Blazor right now in the experimental phase. So Blazor.net as well. So
Blazor.
Blazor?
Yeah, Blazor.net.
Blazor.
Blazor.
Not Blazer.
Right,
Okay.
right.
Blazer is what you put on.
Right.
All right, so guys, I just want to kind of reiterate that, we try to give you a whirlwind tour of the platform and kind of where we're going, so I hope you did kind of enjoy that. .NET is really here to stay, and it really is their platform for building anything, and I appreciate from the bottom of my heart that you are awesome developers on the .NET platform. So thank you very much.